Howdy, my name is Stee and welcome to a very special edition of my movie menu. Now, whenever I ask people what they want to see on my show, I generally get this and the topic that this video is about. So, this is, of course, about the Twilight saga. First of all, I'd like to point out the fact that the dictionary definition of the word saga is, if you'll allow me to quote, any narrative or legend of heroic exploits. I'd like to just point out right now, before we get into this, that the contents of the Twilight saga is not very saga-esque. I don't find a 16-year-old girl yelling and crying all the time to be heroic exploits at all. Let me just start off this video by saying, Stephanie Meyer, I am not angry at you or the idea of your books or anything like that. Some things I may have qualms with, but I'm not angry at you yourself. I congratulate you 100% on your success and all the monies that you've won. And I congratulate you from the bottom of whatever's in the center of my chest. I am not angry at you. I am angry at the movies. I'd like to also just point out that every individual Twilight movie had a different director. It's the same story, just at different points. And there's a different director telling the exact same story with about maybe 4 or 5 months of story time in between. That's why there's such a major difference in, well, mostly color between the original Twilight movie and, say, New Moon. Original Twilight, it's all blue. New Moon, it's all orange. Because, the first movie everything has a blue tint to it. And then in New Moon, everything has an orange tint to it. Oh, well, New Moon's all about the werewolves and they're all nice and warm. Why has everybody in this movie been tangoed? Okay, so what I'm going to talk about in this video are vampire depiction, Bella's a cock-teasing bitch, and of course my favourite point to make whenever I'm asked about this movie and why I hate it so much. Love doesn't burn a hole inside you, it's supposed to make you happy. What you have is a serious case of irritable bowel syndrome. And much, 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 much more. The first little point I want to make about this entire series is, it just seems to send the wrong message. Completely. Okay, let me just start off with this one, okay? If you went to the authorities and you told them that you're dating a 16-year-old girl, and you're over the age of 20, you're fucked. That's illegal. And yet Edward Cullen is 117, and they wrote a book about him. It seems to just bring across a really horrible message to kids. Oh my god, I'm 16 and that guy's older, he's more refined. Yeah, I better go and do him. That was my impression of a 16-year-old girl. Next point. Referring to your vampire cohorts, like your family, as vegetarians, when you still drink blood, just from a different source, that's... No. Vegetarians don't eat meat just from a different source. They just don't eat meat. If you're going to be a vegetarian vampire, just don't drink blood. If you don't want to eat from man, drink pig's blood. This guy did it for years. I'm sure if you went to the local butcher and says, hey, any chance of getting a couple of gallons of pig's blood, he might go, why? Then you'd just be like, oh, it's okay, I'm a doctor, because the dad is a doctor. I know I just need it for some kind of experiment or something. You could get away with it. You could get away with that. Instead, I just spat all over the camera and I don't give a fuck. Instead, what you do is you go around telling everybody you're vegetarian, when the specific definition of a vegetarian is that you do not eat meat. If you're a vegetarian vampire, you do not drink blood. But you do drink blood. From deer and shit. No, not a vegetarian. Okay, now, whenever it comes up in conversation that somebody likes the Twilight movies, I will always ask them, as a movie lover, as an avid movie fan, hey, why do you like the Twilight movies so much? And their response is pretty much always, oh, Jacob's so hot, oh, Edward's so hot. But that has nothing to do with the actual film itself, just the actors involved. It's true, Pattinson and Lautner are attractive men. It is true, they are They are attractive. It's simple. They're just nice looking guys. I'd take them. Probably, no, not at the same time. That's just weird. But if that's the sole reason why you like this film, stop telling me that it's the best film in the world. If you describe the story of Twilight to a woman who loves attractive men, but you did not mention that Pattinson or Lautner were in this film. Okay, you just described the story to her. Oh, it's a movie about a chick who's a bit of a bitch to a guy who really loves her and who she admits herself to actually loving too. But instead she'll drop him and pick the guy who physically wants to murder her and rip her throat out rather than take the steps to alleviate that feeling inside him, i.e. turn her into a vampire like him. I've got a feeling she might say no.